He once ordered the elimination of millions of people. Perhaps most of them. Then the so-called Khmer Rouge. Now rest quietly in an unmarked resting place deep in the forest. Anlong Veng, the last stronghold of the Khmer Rouge, where severe orders were issued. Join me as we step into this place and see that history has not yet been laid to rest. The memories of the past still linger here. Now, let's begin today's program. There was a man born in the peaceful countryside of Kampong Tom Province, Cambodia. His name was Salazar, and later the world would know him by a single name. The mastermind behind one of the most tragic regimes of the 20th century. On April 17th, 1975, the Khmer Rouge entered Phnom Penh amidst the cheers of the people who had just escaped war. They entered the capital as liberators. But just a few hours later, their true intentions were revealed. Under the pretext of imminent U.S. bombings, the Khmer Rouge drove the entire urban population out of Phnom Penh, regardless of age, illness, or occupation. And within about 72 hours, a city of 2 million people was evacuated, leaving behind only empty streets and absolute silence. That was not an evacuation, but the beginning of one of the most tragic periods of the 20th century. A place where people had no names, no basic rights, to leaving only forced labor and loss. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome back as we continue our exploration journey. Right now, I'm in Cambodia.
Traveling to Anlong Veng province. Once here, we will go to visit the grave of Pol Pot, General Secretary of the Khmer Rouge, a force that occupied Cambodia.
A force that governed Cambodia. For only a few years, but Pol Pot left behind immense trauma in Cambodia. Many people already know of Pol Pot, but what is his specific story? How did his life end, and where is his grave? Let's head out now. We have now left the red dirt area, which looks just like the Central Highlands, and are heading onto the highway. Our car is taking us straight to Anlong Veng province. This is a border province adjacent to Thailand, which witnessed the final days of the Khmer Rouge. To this day, Cambodians remain haunted by the tragedy of the Khmer Rouge regime. At that time, its leader was Pol Pot. As a child, Pol Pot was a pious boy who lived in the palace for a short time due to a relative working as a royal monk, but his destiny changed when he went to study in France. There, he was exposed to Marxism-Leninism, and an idea began to brew in the heart of this young Cambodian. To build a classless society with no king, no money, and no cities. Not until 1975, after years of hiding in the jungle with the Khmer Rouge, did Pol Pot march his troops straight into Phnom Penh. The Khmer Republic government, led by Lon Nol, collapsed, and a dark chapter of history began. Within just a few days, about 2 million people were driven out of the capital, forced to leave behind their homes and properties, separated from their families to live like machines in collective labor camp. Currency was abolished, schools were closed, and religion was banned. All intellectuals, those who worked for the former regime, even those who just wore glasses or spoke a foreign language, were deemed opponents of the revolution. Pol Pot dreamed of an absolute agrarian society. But to build it, his regime led to the loss of nearly a quarter of Cambodia's population at the time. Through extreme hardship, severe penalties, starvation, and forced labor. Standing here today on Cambodian soil, it is truly hard to believe that 45 years ago, this place was once a ghost town. No voices, no children, no smiles, only the eerie silence of desolation. Then a haunting obsession that lingers to this day. This area is Tom Mok's house. Tom Mok was a very unique figure in the Khmer Rouge.
Yes, that's correct. During his time in power in the Khmer Rouge, he served as the military commander-in-chief. He was also one of the last to be captured, and was subsequently imprisoned near the capital, Phnom Penh, where he later died in prison.
If Pol Pot was the brain of the Khmer Rouge, Ta Mok was the Iron Fist, implementing relentless policies without a single hesitation. His real name was Chit Kuan, but people only knew him by a terrifying moniker, the Enforcer, also known as Enforcer Tom Mok. Born in 1926, he came from a small merchant family in Takeo Province, southern Cambodia. He became a monk in his youth, but later left the temple to join the revolution. Few people know that Tom Mok never went to college, yet he was highly skilled in military organization. He rose quickly through the ranks of the Khmer Rouge, thanks to his absolute loyalty to Pol Pot and his uncompromising action. When the Khmer Rouge came to power, Ta Mok was appointed commander of the Southwest Zone, which was one of the most notorious factions, where severe internal restructuring took place. Later on, he served as the Chief of General Staff of the Khmer Rouge Army and a powerful Politburo member, second only. When the regime collapsed in 1979, he did not disappear. For the next 20 years, it was Tom Mok who led the remnants of the Khmer Rouge into the deep jungles of Anlong Veng, continuing to fight and rule through fear. And it was also here in 1997 that Tom Mok ordered the arrest of Pol Pot himself, ending the career of his former mentor. Just a year later, Pol Pot died, leaving him all alone like the final shadow of a nightmare. Until March 6, 1999, when Tom Mok was captured by the Cambodian government forces. While trying to cross the Thai border near Anlong Veng province, he was detained before he could stand trial, and by 2006, he died of heart and lung disease in a military hospital in Phnom Penh. He was 80 years old at the time. No trial reached a verdict, only a quiet death for a man who once held the lives of hundreds of thousands in his hands. Speaking of the top leaders of the Khmer Rouge, besides Pol Pot and Ieng Sary, whom you probably know since they are very prominent, one of the next leaders in line is
Khieu Samphan.
And alongside him, there is someone known as Brother Number 2.
Nuon Chia.
Brother Number 2 means he was the top leader, right?
Yes, that's right, he was the oldest.
Ieng Sary was the highest-ranking official of the Khmer Rouge. Besides Pol Pot, the general secretary, and Tom Mok, there was another man, Ieng Sary, who was known as the Foreign Minister of Hell. Ieng Sary was born in 1925 in Khmer Veng province, home to a large Khmer Krom community. From a young age, he excelled in his studies and was sent to France, just like Pol Pot. And it was right in Paris that he joined the communist movement and became one of the founders of the predecessor organization of the Khmer Rouge, along with Pol Pot, Khieu Samphan, and Son Sen.
They were known as the Paris Group.
By 1975, when the Khmer Rouge seized power, Ieng Sary served as deputy prime minister and foreign minister. He was also the public face of the Khmer Rouge regime, handling foreign affairs, media relations, and foreign delegation. But at the same time, was the one who approved the list of those to be purged, both within the Khmer Rouge and in wider society. And the three names, Pol Pot, Tamok, and Aung Sari were the three pieces. That made up a genocidal machine. Pol Pot was a fanatical dreamer. Tamok was the iron fist that turned those ideas into reality with absolute cruelty. Then Aung Sari was the diplomatic face, shaking hands internationally while also signing the purge list. They were three pillars, playing three different roles, but from behind the political spotlight, they shared the same bloodstains. Around 2 million lives were taken in just 4 short years. As a child, I watched a movie called The Killing Fields. Perhaps some of you have seen it, a film by an American director. Speaking of the Cambodian genocide back then, the Khmer Rouge had policy of eliminating all intellectuals to make ruling easier. There was a journalist who was captured and sent to the Khmer Rouge's prison camps. He eventually escaped, running across a field on his way out. When he came to that field, he looked around and saw it was covered in skulls and bones. That is why it was called the Killing Fields, which deeply haunted our 7X generation. During the years of 82, 83, 84, and 85, Vietnam television used to broadcast it about 2 or 3 times, and each time I was so curious. Even though I was terrified, I still loved to watch. I'm still haunted by it to this day. That's why on this trip, I requested my crew that we explore those very stories. Let's revisit the places where battles occurred, that as well as the tragic events in Cambodian history. This is the path leading to Pol Pot's gravesite. I wonder if the people living around this area are his relatives. Oh, look, it's written right here. Pol Pot. Now, we'll leave our vehicle outside and head inside. There is a signpost right here. Outside, there is also a small hut, but it's not a watchtower or anything like that. But I see locals have put up a rope across here, probably to charge a fee to pass. He is saying that going in costs about $2 per person. This is the entrance to the grave of someone who is considered a war criminal here. In the past, this area was a dense and remote primary forest in northern Cambodia, bordering Thailand. It looks like some kind of makeshift settlement. After being driven out of Phnom Penh in January 1979 by Vietnamese volunteer forces and the Kampuchean People's Revolutionary Armed Forces, Pol Pot and the remnants of the Khmer Rouge fled to the mountainous forests of northwestern Cambodia, bordering Thailand. From then on, he did not disappear, but continued to lead the Khmer Rouge from the shadows for nearly 2 decades. In Anlong Veng, Pol Pot lived like a warlord of the jungle, rebuilding a paramilitary resistance system. He exploited the rugged terrain and the weakness of the central government at the time to survive. He still held supreme power in the organization, issuing all orders and directing internal communications, maintaining control through fear and internal purges. But times had changed. After the Cold War, the Khmer Rouge gradually lost international support. Subordinate leaders defected one after another, cracking their ranks and shaking their confidence. And then in 1997, after an internal power struggle, it was Tamok himself, once fiercely loyal, who directly ordered the arrest of Pol Pot. Ending his reign right at his last stronghold, Pol Pot was isolated, spending his final days as a frail, sick, fallen old man with only a few servants. And if I remember correctly, he died in 1998. And his life before his death was quite tragicomic, with many disagreements. And he was later imprisoned by none other than the Khmer Rouge itself. Yes, imprisoned by the Khmer Rouge itself. There is no headstone, no inscriptions. There was just a battered table like this and a small incense burn. Here is a box for visitors to drop in their donations. Gee, this place was recently rebuilt, right? Are there any of his relatives left around here?
No, there are none. They say that towards the end of Pol Pot's life, there was an internal conflict. Among all the leaders, Pol Pot ordered the execution of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. After Pol Pot ordered the execution of Sun Sen's entire family, a severe conflict broke out between Tamok and Pol Pot. After that, there was a period when the two sides fought each other between Tamok's troops and Pol Pot's. Eventually, Pol Pot surrendered. And then they built a hut at this location to place him under house arrest. After he passed away, more than 10 of his soldiers cremated him here. However, they initially used firewood for the cremation, but it wouldn't burn. After that, they used tires to cremate him. Rubber tires were used to cremate him. After the cremation, they buried his remains right at this spot.
On the night of April 15th, 1998, Pol Pot suddenly died. Allegedly due to heart failure or suicide by poison, just before he was to be handed over to the Cambodian government. There was no funeral, no eulogy. He was cremated in a makeshift manner. Dan buried in a pile of dry firewood next to the wooden house where he spent his final years. Thus, a silent end for a man who once, plunging the entire country of Cambodia into darkness. To put it in perspective, when Vietnamese volunteer soldiers helped the Cambodian people liberate themselves from the genocidal Khmer Rouge regime, after Phnom Penh was liberated, the remnants of the Khmer Rouge retreated north toward the Thai border to rely on foreign backing at the time. But if I recall correctly, around 1991 or 1992, China stopped providing aid and support to the Khmer Rouge under international agreements. As a result, the Khmer Rouge began to face a severe shortage of financial and material resources. This led to widespread internal strife within their ranks. They reacted very fiercely and then trapped the Khmer Rouge forces in this forest. This place has a lot of mosquitoes, absolutely infested with them. Looking at this area, if the Khmer Rouge lived here, it certainly wouldn't have been pleasant. Oh my, I just killed another mosquito. There are so many jungle mosquitoes. Even now, many people wonder if anyone from the Khmer Rouge regime is still alive. According to some sources, there is still one survivor today, who is currently serving a life sentence in prison. These were once names that plunged all of Cambodia into fear. Like Pol Pot, Nguyen Chie, Hugh Samphan, Ieng Sary, or Dutch. They held the highest positions of power in the Khmer Rouge regime, having once ordered the deportation, execution, and purging of millions of people. Yet, one by one, they eventually stood in the dock of Cambodia's special tribunal, where the international community and the Cambodian people together demanded justice. Nguyen Chie, once known as Brother Number 2, was sentenced to life in prison and died behind bars in 2019. Ieng Sary, the cold-blooded foreign minister, died before he could be sentenced. Dutch, the chief of the S-21 prison, where over 14,000 people were tortured, also died in detention in 2020. Ieng Thirith, the wife of Ieng Sary, he lost his mind and quietly passed away in the hospital. Hugh Samphan, the president of that bloody regime, is still alive today and serving a life sentence at the age of 94. None of them escaped the judgment of history. No trial is powerful enough to bring back the millions of departed souls. But at least, justice, however late, has finally spoken against the leaders of this regime. Now that Cambodia is so peaceful, we are heading to the headquarters of the Khmer Rouge Political Bureau. As you know, this is not a historical site, but rather ruins. So that visitors can learn about a period in history when Cambodia was mired in suffering. I have arrived at a place called T.A. Mok's house, meaning this is where Tom Mok lived. You can see the milestones spanning across this small board like a flow of history. In 1951, Cambodian communists began allying with Vietnam against French colonialists, marking the initial phase of the revolutionary movement. In 1954, the Geneva Conference ended and the global powers withdrew. Cambodia entered the kingdom era under the reign of Norodom Sihanouk. In 1962, communist leader Teo Samith disappeared and Pol Pot stepped up to lead, starting to build a secret force to prepare for the uprising. In 1975, the Khmer Rouge seized power, forcibly evacuated the entire population, established Democratic Kampuchea, and ushered in the most brutal genocidal era. And in 1979, the Khmer Rouge regime was overthrown by Vietnamese volunteer soldiers and the Kampuchean People's Revolutionary Armed Forces. Pol Pot and Tom Mok retreated to the Anlong Veng mountain region, which is right where we are standing. Ultimately, in 1999, Tom Mok was captured by the Cambodian government near the Thai border, marking the true end of Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge genocidal regime. This must be a vehicle that the Khmer Rouge army used in the past. Right? Look on the outside of this vehicle. This is Pol Pot's mobile radio station. This to Mok's human cage. So after capturing people, he locked them in here?
Exactly, they were locked in here right after being captured.
Locked in cages like this. Inside here is Tom Mok's final base. As we have mentioned, he was the military commander of the Khmer Rouge. This is the meeting house. This is the meeting room. And this is the meeting hall, a conference room of sorts built by Tom Mok. It was for the Politburo, indeed. As you can see, this is a very chill place for a meeting. I call it chill because you can enjoy a panoramic view of the beautiful lotus pond outside. Yet, it was here that brutal decisions were made. In January 1979, Vietnamese volunteer forces entered Phnom Penh, officially liberating Cambodia from the genocidal Khmer Rouge regime. The nightmare ended on paper, but the ringleaders did not disappear. Pol Pot and the remnants of the Khmer Rouge fled deep into the mountainous forests of northwestern Cambodia. And they eventually chose Anlong Veng as their final stronghold. Many might ask, why this place? Dear friends, Anlong Veng, located right next to the Thai border, is shielded by dense forest. The terrain is rugged, and notably, there is an international escape route. This was not only a strategic stronghold for defense, but also a convenient location to receive weapons, supplies, and support from across the border, mainly through Thailand during the 1980s. Right in this very house, Tom Mok, known as the Butcher of the Southwest, established the Khmer Rouge headquarters during its final stages. Housing, a helipad, artificial reservoirs, and guard lines were all tightly organized like a miniature state deep in the jungle, driven by the delusional belief that the Khmer Rouge could reclaim power. But history did not turn back, and the bloody empire came to an end. It was also from this very place This is Tom Mok's guest house, and this room was his resting quarters. Perhaps the areas we just passed through, like Pol Pot's grave, the living quarters, or the meeting room. Where the crucial final activities of the Khmer Rouge Politburo took place are historical sites that have not been restored at all. That is understandable, but they have kept everything in its original state. Since the collapse of the Khmer Rouge, any damage, breakage, or decay then even dilapidation have been preserved exactly as they were, including these large wooden logs. From 1998 until now, so it has only been about 27 years. We can see that if we had renovated or restored it, it would look like other historical sites. But here, it has been preserved in its original state for 27 years. And that is why this entire area with these stilt houses is surrounded by a mango orchard.
Regarding his life, his name was Tamak, but he was also known by many other names, such as Nung Kam or Chit Choon. However, Chit Choon or Uncle Choon was his most well-known name. He was born in 1926 in Takeo province. And after that, he began working, politics, and based on the information here, they say that in 1999 he was arrested. And then in 2006, he died in prison.
This entire area is a mango orchard. It is all mango orchards. This is just one of the surviving houses. As you can see, the entire house is a thin wooden stilt house. It was built rather simply. But on the bright side, it has a beautiful view of the lotus pond outside. After 1979, Cambodia escaped the devastating regime, but the price they paid was not small. In addition to the Cambodians who lost their lives, 55,000 Vietnamese volunteers also sacrificed themselves during an effort lasting nearly a decade to help the Cambodian people reclaim their lives, rebuilding the country from ruins and despair. It was not only a sacrifice for another nation, but also a pledge of humanity in the face of adversity. My trip is not just a journey of discovery, but also a reminder. That peace does not come from luck. That freedom is a result of untold sacrifices, tears, and the bravery of both the Vietnamese and Cambodian peoples. Thank you all for accompanying me on this journey. Then see you again on the next journey to the land of pagodas, Cambodia.